Hello, Revere, and welcome to another great show. Today we have a young lady who's with the school committee. She's been with the school committee many years, and her name is Susan Gravellese. Susan, thank you for coming on the show.
Hello, Morris. Thank you so much for having me.
And before we start, it's a pleasure and an honor to have you really on the show. Thank you, because you are a busy lady.
It's a pleasure and an honor to be here.
Okay, before we start, I always like to ask people about their little education, and you could tell us a little if you would like to about that.
Okay, I'm a lifelong Revere resident, as you know. I went through elementary, middle, and high school here in Revere. I graduated from Revere High School in 1982. At that time, I did not go on to pursue a college education. I went right to work, as my parents did. I've taken some college classes, non-credit classes, and just different computer skills and administrative skills throughout the years. I also got my personal training certification through ACSM. It's the American College of Sports Medicine, which is, you know, on-hand and online classes that you take.
Is that like a nurse? When you say medicine?
No, it's personal training, physical training. So you need to know a lot about anatomy, physiology, kinesiology, so on and so forth. And I've been doing that for the past 20 years. I've been an independent personal trainer here at the local health clubs. Also, I'm an administrative assistant. That's where a lot of my admin classes that I took at, you know, the community colleges came in, where I'm an instructor and an administrative assistant at Revere Karate Academy here on Broadway in Revere. I've been there since 1982. Where,
You're giving away your age, you know.
I know, I am. Don't tell anybody.
I won't. I won't.
So I've worked there as an instructor and as an, you know, office administrator for many years.
Now I'm going to ask you, what was it like when you went to school, and what it is like today with the school?
As far as academics?
Academics, right.
Oh, academics are
And
so much more
also
rigorous today, as
it's
you
more
know.
rigorous today than it was when you were young?
So much more.
Why is that?
Well, I mean, you have to remember way back, I believe it was in the 90s, when they implemented the No Child Left Behind Act,
Right.
which really laid down a lot of rules and regulations for schools, for curriculum, for their programs, for their academics, and it's all to you know, minimize the achievement gap between rich and poor and urban and suburban districts. So with that act, they've just developed a more rigorous curriculum, not just statewide, but nationwide, to try to bring our children to like a higher level.
Right. When I speak to some of the kids that go to the high school,
They're
today,
brilliant.
most of them are. But when I ask them if they have a class in civics, some of them don't even know what I'm talking about when I mention the word civics to them.
Right, right. A lot of them, you know, don't have.
They don't teach civics in school anymore?
No, no. It's more, you know, the times have changed with what they teach the children. With the learning for the 21st century is just.
Right, and I'll tell you, the city has changed too, and the country has changed, because we have a lot of nationalities.
We do.
That are diversified, languages that are diversified.
We do.
How do you
grew
manage?
up in Revere, right? Your
No,
whole
I
life?
grew up in New York.
Oh, in New York.
I left New York to come to America. That's why I'm ever here. I grew up in Brooklyn.
Oh, very good.
Yep.
But we have a very diverse community
Yeah.
here in Revere.
But how do you get along with all the languages that you have in the high school? I mean,
we have a lot of English language learners, obviously. And there's a lot of English language learner classes for them to learn our language when they come into this country. A lot of people have come from impoverished countries or fled war and genocides to come to America to start a better life.
That's right. My parents did the same thing.
So being in the high school and amongst the children, and even walking the halls or going to any of the high school events, you know, their shows that they put on and productions, all these kids, no matter what nationality, culture, language, or, you know, where they've come from, they all work so well together. you don't see a divide amongst the students.
No, I don't see that on the City of Revere.
We don't see that in the City of Revere. You're right, Morris. I have
Right.
to say that's one thing I'm very proud of is in Revere you don't see separation amongst the different cultures.
No,
There's
because
never.
we're all Americans.
Yep. And that's the attitude I see of the high school students. They work well together as groups, and despite where you came from or what nationality or what religion, it's a very close-knit community.
That's fantastic.
It is.
I'd like to ask you, well, okay, I copied some questions that I got off the computer. If I may
Okay.
ask you.
Sure.
Okay. What are some of the challenges that face the Revere public school system today?
Okay.
Let me just do this.
Okay.
Great machine, this computer.
It is.
Yep.
I think you can navigate your way through the
Not
web
only that,
better than most of us.
But I would like to thank the woman that gave me that question. It was very brilliant to do that.
Did you just Google that?
Yep.
Yeah. Okay. There are challenges, obviously. Right now, I'd say two of the biggest challenges. We'll start with the first one. Is we do need a new high school.
Right, and where would you put that new
Where will we put the high school? That's another big challenge.
Right.
Obviously, we are limited for land in Revere, so finding a spot for the high school would be a challenge. That's our ideal, ideally we'd like to relocate it so that we could use the current high school as a centralized middle school.
Right, I've
which
heard
would-
them all say that.
which
People
would-
on the council and the school committee have mentioned that.
Because
too.
you do know we're very challenged for space in our middle schools, and that the middle school lottery is always a very contentious every year with who has to go to what school. It's not very fun for the parents or the students. So ideally we'd like to use the high school as a centralized middle school, find a piece of land to build a new high school. That's a challenge.
You know what came up with some people, Miss Susan, was Wonderland dog track. Would that be big enough to build a new high school and parking for the students?
I believe it would be. We're not sure what's going in Wonderland right now.
Oh.
So that's another
And someone,
challenge.
Yep, and someone mentioned to me Suffolk Downs, but Suffolk Downs is huge. I mean, with all the-
Suffolk Downs is huge. We would not need the whole space. Again, right now, the new owners of Suffolk Downs, I believe, are planning on a mixed-use development down there, something similar to like Assembly Row. So,
Oh, shopping mall.
yeah, mixed use with apartments, shopping, so on and so forth. So I don't think they're willing to sell a piece of their land for their high school. Again, with Wonderland, we'd have to be able to purchase part of that property for the high school, but that would be a great location as well.
Right, a few people mentioned that. The other thing I was wondering, someone mentioned that Amazon might be coming into Suffolk Downs, and that would eliminate the high school there automatically.
That would also eliminate that. There's no guarantee. Everyone knows that quite a while ago, Amazon put it out to the United States that they're looking for a second location for their headquarters. Revere will put in a bid for Amazon to come here, and I believe those bids are due next month, and Amazon will decide who they choose nationwide for their location for their headquarters. So, I mean, that's all speculation that Amazon is coming.
That's pretty good.
Well, it would be nice. It would be great to have Amazon here in Revere. It would create over 50,000 jobs
That's
for
exactly
Revere.
what someone mentioned.
We cross our fingers and hope that Amazon chooses us as their second headquarters,
You know, that
which
would-
again would eliminate us using Suffolk Downs for high school space.
Did you say 50? That's about as many
50,000.
citizens we have in Revere, 50,000.
Yeah.
So everybody would be working there.
Everybody would be working. Wouldn't that be good?
Fantastic.
I mean, within their plan, we meet the requirements, but obviously nationwide there'll be many major cities putting in bids for Amazon.
Beside Revere.
Nationwide, yeah. So it could be far-fetched, but we'll cross our fingers and.
Next question.
Okay, more questions.
We don't have enough time to do what's on
I
there.
know, we're limited in time. We could just sit here all day and talk.
Okay, here we go. What are some of the accomplishments of the Revere Public School students? But also, I would like to add one word beside public school, if I may ask, also Revere High School students, some of the
The
accomplishments.
high
both.
school students. And again, we need more than 30 minutes to go over that with the
I know that.
accomplishments that our students achieve. I mean, we all know that our high school students graduate from our school and go off to so many prestigious colleges.
Like
Harvard, Yale,
Princeton.
Princeton. We have Ivy League, acceptances every year, as well as many universities, even community colleges, and a lot of our students join the armed forces. We have our
Right,
junior
the
ROTC,
right.
which started, I believe, it was 4 or 5 years ago, and Sergeant Belka has done such an amazing job with those kids.
Is that Staff Sergeant Calendar, for my name, if I'm the one who's in charge with Major Bow?
I believe so.
They do a fantastic job with the
Amazing.
kids.
They
Yep.
started with such a small enrollment, and it's tripled in size
I
within
know
the
that.
past 4 years. Some of our students, our history fair students, went on to a national competition in Washington, D.C. last year and fared very well. Our robotics team, which is huge, I mean, robotics is really a way of something for the future. They've gone to national competitions and have fared very well in those competitions. So I think overall, our students are just amazing in what they accomplish and what they achieve. And I don't know if you've seen the film that the media students have put on. It's been filmed and aired at the Revere movie cinema. They put on their own movie. So, I mean, all around, not just academics and, just between all the different programs we have in the high school, there is something for everyone. There's something for all students. Not everybody will go on to Harvard. So we have something for every student in Revere.
Susan, we mentioned Harvard, Yale, and Princeton,
Mm-hmm.
and I have to say, excuse me, we forgot to mention one of the best engineering schools in the country,
MIT.
Right,
We've had students going to MIT in the past. Almost every year we have acceptances to MIT.
That's a fantastic
Mm-hmm.
school. And there's another great technical college out on the west coast of California, Institute of Technology.
Yes.
Has any of the students ever wound up out there?
I'm not sure, to tell you the truth. I don't know. I can look into that and
No, that's
find
okay.
out from the guidance council if any of our students have gone there. But our students, do graduate, and they have the 21st century skills that they need to achieve in the world today. And that's the whole focus.
I have to ask you this question. When I went to school,
Mm-hmm.
we didn't have Google.
No, I didn't have Google.
Okay. How do they get, if Google, let's say, I mean, they use Google, but that's electronics. Let's say the electronic goes out. Can they still handle the subjects without the computer, or they count on the computer?
They can. No, I mean, within the schools themselves, the 4 walls that we're in, yes.
Right. Can they, I mean, do they learn how to do with the computer and then without, or just with the computer?
No, all around. They both skills. Because we can't always rely on the internet. So, but all of our students had iPads last year. This year we've switched to the Chromebooks.
This is what I got.
From high school down to the elementary kids are all learning how to use the computer. And I think a lot of even the elementary kids can use the computers better than I can nowadays.
I'm going to tell you something, but don't laugh. My 7-year-old great-granddaughter shows me how to work things
Of
on
course.
the go. Okay? I mean, and,
The elementary school kids
Yep.
do learn
which is
computers
fantastic.
at such a young age.
Here's a question. I don't know if
Do
I
wanna
got to
answer?
ask it. I
Oh,
got to
gosh,
ask it.
Okay, I'm afraid.
I mean, this woman is brilliant that wrote these for me. Do you like working with the new superintendent of schools? And I believe her name is Mrs. Kelly.
Dr. Diane Kelly, yes.
Dr. Diane Kelly?
Yes, she has her doctorate.
Oh,
Dr. Diane Kelly, she's a great asset to the Revere Public Schools. She's been with our school district for over 20 years now, starting as a teacher, then working her way up as an administrator. She was the assistant superintendent under Dr. Paul Dakin, as you know, so she had a great mentor.
Right.
And having her as our superintendent is a big asset to Revere Public Schools. She knows our kids, she knows the teachers, the administrators, she knows what our urban school district is all about and how to keep us moving forward.
That's great.
We're very fortunate.
You know, I've had the honor of having some of the great superintendents of the Revere School here, up on here. I've had Dr. Dakin, who was voted the #1 in the country.
Yes,
in the
yes,
nation.
brilliant.
Yep. And Miss Carol.
Carol Ty,
Right.
an amazing woman, as we all
Right.
know. She amazes me every day.
Right, and I remember when I first came to Massachusetts many, many years ago, there was a guidance counselor there by the name of Sam Samuel, so you probably didn't know.
I've heard the name
Did you?
throughout the years, but
Yep.
I've never had the pleasure of meeting
Right.
Mr. Samuelson.
Well, my daughters loved him. They went to the Revere School. So,
He was a
guidance
okay.
counselor, that's what I understand.
Okay.
But that was many moons ago.
Right. I've never met him, but I've heard his name.
Okay, now I'd like to ask you, what do you see coming up in the future for the school committee to do? But before I ask, you go answer that in the future. What made you decide to run again for the school committee?
Well, I have to say, Morris, I do love being on the Revere School Committee. I love being part of the Revere Public Schools. It's been an important part of my life, not only for myself and for my children. My children both graduated from Revere High School and are successful products of Revere High
Yep.
School and are, you know, they're aspiring young adults now, and I attribute a lot of that to the Revere Public Schools. So now being on the school committee, giving back to the community and being, you know, part of the process of making the decisions that affect our school children today, that's going to bring them into the future and bring them into being, you know, the mature, responsible, aspiring adults that they will be is, you know, just very meaningful to me.
Right, now, do they still use books in school, or do they just rely strictly on...
They still use books.
No, no,
They do. Believe it or not, they do. We still have books in school.
the reason I asked that, because when I went to school, that's all we had to use.
That's
was
all we
books.
had.
Right.
We didn't have computers when we went to school, Morris.
And I have to tell you this, when the computer first came out, and I'm talking as a senior citizen now, we wouldn't go near it.
I'm very impressed. I think your skills on the computer far surpass many.
You think so?
I think so.
Well, maybe it's because I had a good mentor right here at RevereTV by the name of Mr. Dunbar.
Oh,
Yeah.
Bob Dunbar?
Yep.
He was your mentor?
He was my mentor on TV.
Oh,
He was a tough mentor, but he was the best mentor. The tougher they are, the better they are,
that's
really.
right. I agree.
Yep.
I agree. And now look at the skills you have.
Yep, you know, I used to rely on him to do everything for me. Like if I needed to download a song, he would do it. If I
Right.
needed information, he would do it. But one time, the gentleman was so busy that he told me to grab a piece of paper. He says, I'm going to tell you this once. Write down what I tell you because I'm not going to repeat it.
Right.
So, no, that was
Yeah.
his words. So I wrote down everything and I went home. And I started with, then later on they came out that you can talk to Google.
Yes, you
But
can.
Google was mad at me because it won't come up on here. I don't know why. I must have
Google's
said-
mad at you?
Yep.
What did you say to get Google mad at you? I don't understand.
I don't know. But maybe I pushed the wrong button on here, so everything I do, I type in.
Okay.
All right? Before I could talk with the voice. But
Right.
let me tell you, it's a great machine because anything
great
you don't
tool to
know,
have.
it tells you. Math, physics, anything you want is right on here.
It's right on
So
there.
I could see why the kids today are a lot smarter.
Kids are
Than when I was a kid.
extremely intelligent. They have a world of knowledge at their fingertips.
And, you know, they even have, which I saw, smartphones. Now they come out with a thing on TV, which I saw advertised on TV with the remote. You don't have to push buttons anymore. You just talk to
You
the
just
remote
talk
like
to
you
your
do.
phone?
Yep, and everything will come up.
That's pretty easy.
Right, now, there's a couple of more questions I'd
Okay.
like to ask you. Okay, talk about the future of the city. I always like to ask the people, Susan, since, I don't know if you're old enough, but do you have any members in your family that are were in the military?
I do not. I don't have any.
Okay, do you have
immediate-
any members in your family? Talk a little about your son Joseph, because he's a community veteran.
He is a community veteran. He was not in the war, though.
No,
or the
no, no, no,
military
no. I
service.
said community,
I
not
know.
military. There's a
I'm very
difference.
proud of my son to come back.
And he's with the city.
He's, yes, he's in the mayor's
Oh, with
administration.
the Mayor Brian
With
Arrigo?
Mayor Arrigo, yes.
He's
yes.
lucky.
He is. I'm very proud of my son. You know, he graduated from Revere High School and went to Boston College for
And what did he-
political science.
Oh.
He was a political science major. That's been his passion probably since he was about 8 years old.
So maybe someday he'll run for office too.
May or may not. He's a good behind-the-scenes person to have. Prior to being asked to work in the Arrigo administration, he worked at the State House. So he was there working as an aide to one of the state representatives. So,
Can I ask you which one?
Laurie Ehrlich.
Don't worry about
Yeah, he was with her for a couple of years before he took this career move to work with the
Great.
City of Revere. And I'm very proud of him for coming back and working with the city and being
I'm proud to
involved
have him on
with
there. I think
city
he does it.
government.
Yep. And you have a daughter too? 'Cause
I
it's-
do have a daughter. She graduated from
what's her
Revere
name?
High School. Christina. She graduated from Revere High School in 2009, and she went to Bentley University. And she's now currently working for Harvard University. She's in human resources as a job recruiter.
At Harvard?
At Harvard, yes. She works for the Harvard School of Public Health as a job recruiter.
And she graduated from Revere High?
Yes, she did.
And Joseph graduated from
Revere High School.
Now I can agree with you that Revere High does turn out brilliant students.
Brilliant students. I can, you know, my children are both successful products of Revere High School, and I attribute that to the education, and you know, not just the education, but teaching them to be well-rounded and how to go off into the world and to excel in college. And both of them, when they started in college, you know, both came back and agreed to me and said, "Mom, I am so well prepared. I feel so much more prepared than others that come from, you know,
Right.
suburban communities that are more affluent than ours." And just coming from Revere High School and going into the academic college world, like, they knew that they were ready.
Right. I'd like to ask you a question about the different types of schools, like the public school, the charter school, and the private school.
Okay, I think we did go over this at one other time. You had asked me
Yeah,
about
right.
public and charter versus charter schools. Charter schools are more
Privately, well, they're not
privately owned. They're more like corporate run. You know, but they are state funded.
Oh, they are state funded.
Yes, yes, they do receive state funds per pupil, just like Revere Public Schools.
So what is the difference then?
They have the autonomy to have their own curriculum. They don't have to. They don't follow the state guidelines that are set by the state and the government.
They don't have to answer to the state at all?
No. So they have the autonomy to have their own curriculum, and you know their learning style is different than what would be in the Revere Public Schools or any public school. You know, of course, I'm an advocate for public schools.
I don't blame
as
you.
we all know.
Right.
There are people that do like the charter schools, and that's their choice. It's good for everyone to have a choice to send their child to a school of their choice.
Like
We
the
don't have charter schools in Revere.
I was going to ask you this question. The public schools have to take everybody when they want.
Yes,
right?
correct. Charter schools do not.
That's what I wanted to know.
They do not.
So they can be picky and choosy.
They can be picky and choosy, and if, for instance, they accept a student and after a few months they feel that student's doesn't
Well-
fit into like the model of their school, they can tell them, ask them nicely to leave, and then they'll come back to the public schools. So public schools accept all children.
Which is good in a way.
It
because
is. It is. Every school should be able accept
Now the
all
private
children.
schools, which would be like parochial schools,
Parochial schools,
would be one of
Catholic
them.
schools.
Other religious institutions that have private schools, I guess, would be the same. Does the state fund them too, in some sense?
Those are privately
Oh,
funded. Yeah, those are private. That's totally separate.
So all that money that goes to those private schools comes from the parents themselves.
I believe so. I mean,
That means they got to be a little wealthy sometimes. If you
Well-
got 5, 6, 7 kids and you want to send them
tuition to the private schools are up there. I don't know.
are
if
they
you-
as much as public schools? Or higher even?
What, tuition?
Yeah.
Well, you don't pay for public school.
But I mean the
obviously.
cost of to teach a student in
Per
a public
student,
school.
per student
Because they go out
costs.
14,000, let's say, in a public school.
Yes,
Would
I'm
that-
not sure what their costs are at
Oh.
private schools. Obviously, they're private, so their information's not public. Our information is public, so
Oh.
I don't have privileges to private schools funding per pupil. You know, everyone has to choose what's best for themselves and for their children and where they feel they'll get the best education.
You know,
but
but it's nice when the teachers or this brings down the young students, not the big students, but the little ones, to the different organizations, or in this case to the senior center,
Oh,
to
yeah.
see how the old folks are, because someday they're going to be there too. I hope.
That's what you must enjoy when the little ones come
I
to
do.
the senior
I
center.
do. It brings back a lot of memories.
It does, and I'm sure that they enjoy coming to the senior center.
So it's nice to
I know
have.
some of the schools, even like the local.
Yeah, we have a woman from Lynn, I can't remember her name. She brings a nice group down. They sing Christmas carols for us. So it's beautiful to have them.
Oh,
And those are kids. A group of kids come down.
Right,
And they
right.
get involved with us old folks.
Isn't that nice? I know a lot of our elementary school kids sing at like the Veterans Day services
Yep.
and the Memorial Day services.
Even at the, they come down to the American Legion
they
building
do.
and park there.
They
do a good
They
job.
do. They do a lot of community service with
They
the
sing
kids.
the national anthem.
Yeah.
And they don't kneel. They sing.
They don't.
They don't.
We won't
They're-
touch on that
Okay.
topic because that would be another, you know,
Right.
we'd need another 30
We
minutes.
got about a minute and a half
A
left.
minute and a half.
Take a minute and 20 seconds to wrap it up, Sue.
Okay, well, I just want to thank you, Morris, for inviting me on the show.
It was an honor and a pleasure.
It's always a pleasure to be on this show.
Well, RevereTV is one of the best
It is.
community channels, I won't say in Massachusetts. I go one step further in the universe.
That's right. I agree. I agree with you 100%. So,
That's nice.
you know, I will hope that I will be reelected again this year so I can continue my work in the Revere Public Schools.
Well, you are a great asset to the school committee and to the city of Revere.
Thank you, Morris. I
Right.
appreciate that so
And I
much.
want to say, Susan, it was an honor and a pleasure to have you come up here.
Morris,
Thank
you're
you.
the best.
Good luck to you. God bless you, and I hope you succeed in whatever you want to do.
Thank you.
Right. And I want to say thank you to the people of Revere for listening. I want to say thank you to all our military. May God bless you, those that served and those that are retired now. Thank you for serving. And to the people of Revere, God bless you all out there. But most of all, God bless our great country, the United States of America. Thank you all for listening. And one more time, Susan, thank you for coming.
Thank you, Morris.